ABC Kinderteach presents A Walk Through the Rainforest, written by Martin Jenkins, illustrated by Vicky White. When we go through this book, pay close attention to the animals that are sometimes hidden in the pictures, sometimes not, like this bird. So many different kinds of animals live in Taman Nagara that we couldn't possibly fit them all into this book, but we did include a lot. Did you spot them? Insects and other invertebrates. Mammals, frogs and reptiles, tropical rainforests are amazing places. More kinds of animals and plants live in them than anywhere else. This one is in Malaysia in Southeast Asia, a very, very long ways away. In a place called Taman Nagara, let's go and explore. Look at, there's a couple people there. There's a bird up there. What's it like in here? Hot and sticky and pretty dark. Where are all the animals? There don't seem to be many, apart from a lot of ants and termites scurrying around. There's the bird again. Those look like ants. And termites are bugs that eat wood and trees. And this is what a termite looks like. And scurrying just means running around. This is a bit strange when you think that in this forest there are 7 kinds of wild cats, like jaguars, 6 kinds of pheasants, a pheasant looks like that, 12 kinds of pigeons, at least 14 kinds of squirrels, 66 kinds of frogs, more or less, 11 kinds of cuckoos, there's one, 80 kinds of bats, roughly, 10 kinds of owls, 9 kinds of hornbills, and there's a hornbill, 18 kinds of woodpeckers, hundreds of kinds of butterflies, goodness knows how many kinds of beetles, I certainly don't, and a whole lot more. All I see is the bird and the ants. You may not be able to see many kinds of animals, but if you listen for a minute, you can hear plenty. That whirring is made by cicadas, which look like this. The loud whistle is made by a well-hidden pita, which looks like that. The chattering is a squirrel, though I don't know which kind. And that woo woo is a great Argus pheasant a long way off. And there's a great Argus pheasant. I wonder if it's displaying for a possible mate, which means kind of showing off its wings. There's the great Argus pheasant. That must be a girl one, maybe. So many animals all out of sight, but there are some wonderful things right in front of us. Can you guess? What do I guess? What are we looking at? It looks like there's trees. Is that what they want us to see? I'm talking about the trees. We were right. They're the biggest and the oldest things here. There are tons of different kinds. This one is called a tuolang, and it looks like that. It must be 200 feet, 60 meters tall, and hundreds of years old. Wow, that's really old. But if you look around carefully, you might notice something a bit strange. All the trees here are big and old. There are no small young ones. There are, however, small plants growing, mosses and ferns, sprawling palms called rattans, which that's a rattan, wild gingers, looks like this, and arum lilies, like this, with dark shiny leaves and weird flowers. But these won't grow into rainforest trees. Eventually the big trees will die. They could be struck by lightning or be blown down in a storm or get a disease, which means they get sick. But if there aren't any young trees growing around here to take their place, how will the forest continue to live? Let's walk on to see if we can find some clues. Look, there's a beetle. Looks like there's a grasshopper there. Here's a giant fig tree, which looks like this, with lots of fruit on it. Now we can see some animals. They've come to feed on the fruit. Those large birds are great hornbills, and there's a family of gibbons, which that's a gibbon, and some fruit doves too. Fruit doves. That little bird with a big bill, I think that's a red-crowned barbet. Right there. See the red crown? All of them here to feast, and there'll be others coming at night. Yep, there's some hornbills there. Looks like there's a bird there. Do we see anything else? And, ooh, that looks like bats. Maybe bats. And something else. There's something there too. Here under the tree are lots of fallen figs. And a fallen fig might look like this if you cut it open. There are hoof prints too, made by wild pigs. And a wild pig might look like this. They love fruit, but have to wait for it to fall to the ground before they can get to it. Some of the figs have burst open. Butterflies are feeding on the sugary juices. Inside the figs are hundreds of tiny seeds. Any one of those could grow into a giant fig tree if it sprouted, which means the seed comes out of the ground as a small tree. Not here, though. It's too dark. Like most forest trees, fig tree seedlings need lots of light to grow well. That's why there aren't any small trees around. So, where do they grow? Let's walk on a little farther to see if we can find out. What's this? Some enormous footprints and a big pile of dung, and that's where they go to the bathroom. The poop's still warm, which means whatever animal made it was here only recently. I mean, it just left. It might be just ahead of us. There's a bird, maybe a butterfly. I wonder what it could be. Ah, yes, an elephant. We reached a clearing, which means a place without trees, where it's much lighter. A huge tree fell, perhaps in a storm, and pulled down some of the trees around it. Their tops would have been all tangled together with vines. And there are young trees everywhere. This is where they grow, in gaps in the forest where sunlight reaches all the way down to the ground. Each tree grew from a seed, but there aren't any trees with fruit nearby. So, how did the seeds get here in the first place? Look over there, hornbills right here. They might be the same ones we saw at the fig tree. Oh, I think one of them just pooped. And here's another pile of elephant dung where it goes to the bathroom. And I think that pile is from a wild pig. There's quite a lot of poop, isn't there? Let's take a closer look at some. I don't know if I want to do that. The elephant poop is mainly brown and stringy, the remains of the leaves and branches that the elephant has eaten, but there are also some hard round things in it. They're durian seeds, and those are durian fruit. Elephants are fond of durian fruit, and if we look in the pig poop or the hornbill poop, we'll find lots of smaller seeds like the ones we saw in the figs. Looks like maybe there's something there, and This is how it works. Many trees, like figs and durians, make tasty, sugary fruit that attracts animals which eat the fruit along with the seeds. When the animals poop, with luck, they'll poop out some seeds somewhere good to grow. The poop helps in another way too. Tree seedlings don't just need light, they need chemicals called nutrients, like food almost, that they take in through their roots. Often there aren't many nutrients in rainforest soil, but there's plenty in poop, so when a seed sprouts where an animal has pooped, it should find itself with a healthy supply of nutrients, like food, to give it a good start in life. Of course, it doesn't always work that way. Some animals, like parrots and squirrels, often chew up and destroy seeds instead of pooping them out whole. Some trees make seeds that are blown around by the wind. They don't need animals to carry their seeds, so they don't make any tasty fruit. And some trees have seeds that sprout into seedlings that can survive in dark places for years until the trees above them fall down and make a clearing. Whatever kind of seeds a tree makes, hardly any will grow into big trees. They'll rot or get chewed or end up in difficult places to grow. To make up for this, each tree produces huge numbers of seeds. With luck, some seeds will find themselves in a clearing like this, and a few of those will grow into saplings or small young trees, and then into full-grown trees. Eventually, in 30 or 40 years, this won't be a clearing anymore. Looks like there might be a bird there or something. There's a couple birds. A wildcat. There's something there. Looks like there might be something there. Maybe something there. I can't tell. This goes on all the time in the forest. Each of those big trees we saw will eventually die, and a new clearing will open up where it used to stand, ready for animals that have been feeding on fruit, perhaps from one of the trees that has grown up in this clearing, and so the forest lives on. And that must be a good thing, because without the forest, there would be nowhere for the 7 kinds of wildcats, 6 kinds of pheasants, 12 kinds of pigeons, at least 14 kinds of squirrels, 66 kinds of frogs, more or less, 11 kinds of cuckoos, 80 kinds of bats, roughly 10 kinds of owls, 9 kinds of hornbills, 18 kinds of woodpeckers, hundreds of kinds of butterflies, who knows how many kinds of beetles, I certainly don't, and countless other animals and plants to live. And that wouldn't be a good thing at all, would it? Tropical rainforests are found in parts of the world near the equator, kind of the middle of the Earth or world, where it stays warm year-round and where there is a lot of rain. There are tropical rainforests in Africa, South and Southeast Asia, like China, like Taman Negara, Central and South America, Northern Australia, New Guinea, and Madagascar, and on islands in the South Pacific and the Caribbean. So lots of different places. Tropical rainforests in different parts of the world look very similar, but they have different kinds of animals and plants living in them. Nobody knows exactly how many kinds of animals and plants live in tropical rainforests altogether, but scientists do know it's a huge number. They think that between half and 2/3 of all the different kinds of plants and animals that are alive at the moment live in these forests. Wow, that's a lot. People have cut down huge areas of tropical rainforest, mostly to grow crops and keep cattle. This has left all the living things in rainforests with less and less space. Many of them will go extinct, which means they'll die out. There won't be any more of them if we keep cutting down the forests as fast as we currently are. Some rainforests, like the one in this book, are protected in national parks. Taman Negara means national park in Malay, but not enough of them to make sure that all living things found in rainforests will be safe.